Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life, the podcast. You're listening to Author's Corner, where we highlight and showcase our local authors. Today, I'm speaking to Dr. Glen N. Robison, author of Healthy Dad, Sick Dad. What good is your wealth if you don't have your health? My favorite quote. So, our topic today is going to be Your Health is Your Wealth. So, welcome, Dr. Glen.
Oh, nice to be here. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. That is so important. People don't realize the amount of how much money they have that if you don't have your health, it's your wealth is useless. Right.
Yes.
So let me give you guys a brief synopsis of Dr. Glenn's book. He says far too many people retire needing to take 5 to 20 medications a day for health conditions that could easily have been prevented. They retire to their recliner and don't take full advantage of opportunities that retirement offers because they're dependent on oxygen from the oxygen tank or because they're just too stiff and sore to get out and enjoy life. It doesn't have to be that way. In nature, when things are in balance, there is no disease. In Healthy Dad, Sick Dad, Dr. Glen N. Robison shares his personal journey with two very familiar fathers who ended up drastically different retirements. Determined to understand why, Dr. Robinson studied his healthy father's lifestyle and emulated it for 15 years with dramatic improvements to his own health. Now he shares the secret of living towards a long, healthy life. So, yes, very important. I've been spending a lot of time on the show on healthy lifestyle, um, anti-aging, health span, versus lifespan. So this just fits right into, it seemed, the theme of this season, because that's all I've been talking about. So, but you also, when I spoke to you earlier, Dr. Glenn, you also told me a story of your daughter, and I was very interested in bringing it to my audience. So, even though we're going to talk later on about, retirement and things like that. So, can you tell us what you learned, first of all, what your daughter illnesses was, and what you learned from her illness that helped you change your mindset on health?
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to back up a little bit just to let your audience know a little bit about myself. As a child, I suffered from asthma. And so I set on a journey about the age of 10 trying to find a cure for asthma. And so I do many things. Um, and when I got to high school, I took this test to get into college called the ACT test. And I bombed it. I got into the counselor's office and they said, "Look, go be a farmer like your dad, go to Votech school, but good luck getting into college because I got a 7 on my ACT score." So how does this involve into my daughter? Well, not only did I make it into college, but I made it into medical school and I did a surgical residency. So I in my surgical residency first year, I was scrubbing in on cases on open heart surgery. I was scrubbing in on cases on bowel obstruction and total knees and shoulders. And I mean, we were doing a lot of surgery. In fact, I did a medical mission and we did a lot of surgery there too. So in my mind, I am surgery trained. That's what I was trained to do. So now the point to my daughter. She's about 2.5 years old, and we have no idea what happened to her. She all of a sudden stopped eating, and every time we tried to feed her, she was in pain, and she was push her plate away, and she would say, I can't, it hurts. Daddy, it hurts. It hurts to eat. And she wouldn't eat. And I was like, okay, well, maybe she's just doing like common thing kids do and just don't wanna eat the vegetables, but no, it wasn't that, and days went on and days went on, and she started getting weaker and weaker, and I was like, "Oh my heavens, my daughter is really sick. Something's going on with her," and I'm going in my mind like, "Okay, what is it?" I've been trained in Western medicine. I didn't have an answer. I couldn't come up with something, and here she just kept staring at me, "Dad, please help me." And so, took her to the ER. They didn't have an answer. They just said, "Mash up the potatoes and give her soft foods." Well, we tried that. Took her to the pediatrician, same answer. And I was really getting frustrated because here I am, an educated person who willed myself through school and did things that are unimaginable, but now I don't have any answers for my daughter. And I'm like, okay, there was a gentleman that helped me with my back a few years ago and helped me get out of trouble because I couldn't afford to have surgery on my lower back where I had herniated disc. And so I heard about this gentleman and I went down and I met him and he helped me get out of trouble. And I'm like, okay, well, if he could help me, maybe he could help my daughter. And I called him up. I said, here's what's going on with my daughter. It was now a few weeks later, almost a month later. And I literally had to carry my daughter into his um, office. And I laid her on the table and he looks at her and I had to take a back seat and be a father, be a dad and put all my medical away and put my trust in this gentleman. And he went to work and he started doing some things. And within 5 minutes, I started hearing gurgle sounds in my daughter's tummy. And then he did something and she stood up. He says, Daddy, I'm hungry. And we took her into the kitchen and we fed her. And she had no pain. And I was like, oh my heavens, what's going on here? And I started asking questions. I go, what did you do? And that led to many questions over the last 18 years of now working with this healthy dad, which I call my mentor. I keep his name private because he's asked to do that, but he's helped thousands of people. Um, but he literally, when I asked him, I go, could you teach me what you did to my daughter just in case, I may need to do it again or I can help some of my patients? And he says, absolutely. So what did she have? I had no idea. But the way I can put it together, the way he explained it is that somewhere, somehow she fell and there might have been a shift in her ribs that were putting pressure on the nerve plexus. And so whenever she ate, that was hurting her to eat. I know there was a movie out with Jennifer Gardner and there's a little girl that she played the mother, and they took her daughter all over across the world because she was having severe pain. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, but
I haven't watched it, but I saw it being advertised. Right. So I know what you're talking about. Exactly.
so I'm gonna ruin the story for you because
That's
so make
okay.
it a point. But
Right.
the at the end of the story, they couldn't find any answers, and then all of a sudden she's playing with her sister again in this tree, and she falls, and she's cured.
And she's
And you
cured.
go, I'm thinking it's the
Right.
same thing that happened to my daughter, but this gentleman, this man, this healthy dad mentor of mine knew the answers and helped her. So here now, it totally changed my whole perspective on Western medicine. And the more I dived into it, the more I started learning about it, I was like, oh, whoa, there are other answers out there for medical conditions than just what I was trained in.
Right.
So that opened up a can of worms. And so now I still do surgeries in clinic that's needed, but I don't do a whole lot of surgeries in the hospitals anymore.
Mm. Well, I would have thought that he was able to manipulate her and get rid of an obstruction because it sounded like an obstruction,
Mhm.
but he actually moved bone around or something. But yeah, that makes sense. But yes, I mean, yes, Western medicine is opening it up now to Eastern medicine and all these Ricky healing and shamans and all these different things. But um, it's still good to have the surgeon for there um for things that needs, you still need the surgeon, but a lot of times surgery is not where you should go to first. You can go to all these other different things. So I'm glad that that you had that experience and that was able to help your daughter because yes, if she didn't continue eating, she would have died. You need food to survive. So, so that's amazing. All right. So that's what changed your mindset. And so did you get into more of the Eastern tradition? Is that's what's changed your mindset on Western medicine and surgeries?
So I tell people I have the best of both lives. Yes, I have the Western side that surgery is absolutely we are top of the top in the world. I know there's a lot of Eastern countries like Germany and all that has a lot of, incredible surgeons. But I always say for events of people that need surgery, yeah, that is as incredible what the Western medicine does. But from the standpoint of, the pills and things that we treat for common conditions, I started looking at the Eastern side and started getting into the yin yang side
Hmm.
of how my body feels when I eat. People ask, "Well, do you diet?" I says, "I no, I don't diet. I eat for my body temperature." And that protects my immune system. If my immune system's protected, then I it's an anti-aging, and plus I don't take medications and I live healthy. So the more I dived into it, the more I started learning about the 5 elements and started learning about how things work. And so if the lung is off and you're having respiratory problems, well, maybe you should be looking at something else like the large intestine. And if you can correct the large intestine, you correct the lung. And this is what Eastern medicine provides. And I spell it out in the book there and go into detail. Sometimes I have to refer to it because it's so complex. It's a 4,000-year-old uh, history of how they treat.
Hmm.
But I like their concept. I like how they approach the human. Um, I think in Western medicine, we're so trained to go right to the pain area instead of looking at the body as the whole. And so now I look at the whole entire body when I'm looking at the bunion. So
Yeah, yeah, we're moving away from that. I don't know if we're moving away or not because insurance probably, yeah, still doesn't cover functional medicine doctors. They want you to go to the cardiologist for your heart and the somebody else for your feet and whatever. That's how they pay. And but yeah, but I mean, almost all the doctors that I interview on this show now, they're all functional medicine doctors. So yeah, because you got to look at the body as a whole because one affects the next. I've never heard what you just said though, that if you have a problem with your lung, look at your intestine. So that's pretty good. So that's a new one for me, but it makes sense because yeah, what you eat is what's going everywhere, right? Your mitochondria, your gut health. But so that's great. So in your book, you talk about the lifestyle of your healthy dad, which now you're talking about this. He's mixed with Eastern medicine traditions, and another dad, and you're looking at them as a way to showcase that you can have a totally different retirement experience if you go this way than that way. So you want to comment on what are the different experiences and what is some of the things that your healthy dad does and the unhealthy dad does?
absolutely, yeah. So, the title of the book actually came from, you probably know, the Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes,
So,
exactly. It's a
Robert.
play on words, right?
And so I actually, I hired one of, I think it was his lawyer. I know his gentleman that worked with him. And when I got the trademark for Healthy Dad, Sick Dad, he did reach out to Robert, and I was given the okay to use that title.
Hmm.
So, which is very, very significant because my healthy dad, he's in his probably mid 70s, doesn't take any medication. He could outwork me anytime, I mean, the guy can work, he's healthy, he lives by what he preaches, and, he definitely eats organic, but he definitely eats a balanced diet, so, it's common sense in his approach, which means, it's not complete vegan, which at one point he was, and, very strict, but then he realized that, okay, there's some elements that I'm not getting that is needed for my body. So, when he talks about balance and I talk about eating for my body temperature, I could be eating like a salmon one night, but I could eat a chicken soup another night. And here in Arizona where I live, I could be, vegetarian all summer, and then when it starts to get to fall, then I'll move into something warm and good for my, intestinal lining.
So that's
Uh,
what you mean by body temperature. All right.
yeah, so I try to keep it at 98.7, that's what I mean. If I can keep it that around that range, I protect my immune system.
Mm.
And so, on the other side, my sick dad, who's my biological father, who helped bring me into this earth and teach me all the ropes to um, the farming life. The guy was just healthy. He was always working. He could build machinery like couldn't imagine. The guy had a gift, a really beautiful mind, but he loved his candy bars, and he loved his soda, and he loved his ice cream at night, and the comfort foods of life. And towards the end of his life, which he did pass away, right before the book came out, um, I talked to him and he did try to change a little bit, but towards the end, he just says, "No, he's going to enjoy it, enjoy the foods that he'd been eating." And
Mm,
I could see the effects of the gout come on because of the corn syrup that he had in that ice cream at night, and the inactivity when he retired to his recliner. So when he stepped away from the farm, and he just when he got to the recliner, he didn't get out, he wasn't moving much, and so things just went south very fast, and he ended up with a heart attack, and, he's no longer with us, but he knew that I was into this. He knew that, uh, he out of 9 kids, I'm like the black sheep of the family, so but, there's just, we just he just he accepted me for who I was, and he did ask me questions, and the way I knew that he accepted me for who I was is he'd always, send me to some of his fellow farmers, his friends, and say, "Hey, could you help them?" And so I'd help them out, so
mm. He was just saying, "Hey, it's like people that smoke even though they know it's gonna kill them, they says, 'Well, I'm not getting rid of the cigarette.'"
yeah.
So, your father was saying that, "Hey, I'm gonna enjoy my food even if it kills me." So, some people have that thing. Some people have that mentality. So, right. Okay. So that's pretty good. So, you're saying when you say lifestyle, you're concentrating it on foods that we eat,
Yes.
nutrition. Okay. Right.
There's that, but there's also too, I mean, it goes even in deeper. I mean, there's the foods we eat, but it's in the environment that we're at. So I take it step further. I don't know if there's like the 5G towers and the Wi-Fi and the EMFs that are emitted. So I actually sleep with a copper blanket on top of me. I have a Faraday cage on my smart meter in my house.
Mm,
I have some things to protect me from these unseen things that are going all around us that we are unaware of, but we're saying, "Why are we so tired? Why are we so foggy brain?" and things like that. But a lot of these things do affect us outside the foods and the water we drink. So,
yeah, right. It's very interesting. I know better and I don't do better, but I listen to my phone to put me to sleep. So my phone is right above my head and it's usually plugged in and I know that it's got all kinds of radiation stuff on it and or whatever. And there's one point in time I heard that I should unplug my Wi-Fi because all that channel and all that stuff. So I know what you're talking about. But yes, hopefully it's so minute that it doesn't affect my health because we've got all the radiation things in there. But yeah, but the food, how we energize our body, what we do, what we put in our body is definitely the most prevalent indicator of our health and our lives, and of course, exercise too. I mean, you don't need to mention that. Everybody knows that. But right. So, but also, you're a podiatrist, and you
yes.
said something interesting just now. You said that you can look at a bunion and tell what's going on with the body. So, how does caring for our feet prevent illness? And I'll tell you something. I was listening to one of the online pastors, not my pastor, but I listened to him, Dr. Jamal Bryant out of Atlanta recently, and he was talking about the foot, about how there's different um uh, points on your foot that you can touch for whatever. And I came and I took out a book that I've had for like 20 years. It's called the Foot Book. And in there, it's got all the different pressure points that you can do for your foot. So I understand that part of it. But as a podiatrist,
Hmm.
what do you see when you look at the foot, or how do you help your clients that are coming into you? Like if you see a bunion, if you see a corn, if you see whatever you see that helps them, with their health and preventing illness.
So there's two sayings. I think it's Leonardo da Vinci said that the mirror of the body lies within the foot. The famous artist who I try to follow. I paint myself. So um, and and then there's Abraham Lincoln. He said when his foot hurts, he couldn't think, and he had his own podiatrist. Well, they're chiropodists at the time.
Okay.
But when I see a patient, and just in fact, yesterday I had a patient come in, had a very, very painful corn on his little toe. And most podiatrists will say, okay, this toe's curved and it's over and there's a callus there, and well, let's just fix it surgically. And that, in fact, he told me that. He says, I went to a podiatrist and they wanted just to fix it surgically and be done with it. And I was like, well, wait a minute, maybe there's something else. And so he didn't take that route, and he found me. He says, I'm going to talk to this guy and find out what he says. And so I'm examining him, and he never had in his notes at all about his medical history above his waistline. And I am looking at his toe, and I says, you really need to relax your left shoulder. And he looked at me. He's like, whoa, how did you know that?
Wow.
He says, "No, what?" He says, "Yeah, I had my left shoulder, reconstructed." I says, "Well, that's what's causing that hammer toe." And he says, "Well, okay, now you got my curiosity. My hammer toe is caused by my shoulder?" And I says, "Yes." And I says, "Your bunions also is a result of your neck and shoulder tension." And what I picked up from my healthy dad in the years I've been studying and I've been researching it more and more, that bunions and hammer toes are a direct result of tension in the upper neck and shoulders. Now, I've read and listened to holistic people talk about how to reduce bunions naturally, but none of them have ever talked about the association with the shoulders. And there's a direct correlation because life wants to be balanced, whether it's food, whether it's air, everything wants to be in a balanced harmony modality.
Hmm.
So there's no difference with the body and structure. So if the shoulders and neck are very tight and tense, or if you have injury to it, or the other side, which you do quite well with all your platforms and talking to people, is the mindset.
Mindset, right?
If people worry all the time, that could cause a bunion and hammer toe. And if you have a lot of tension, so if you're tense and tight up here, your toes are going to grip down here to balance it out. Most people are not aware of that until that toe goes in or that bunion goes south, and then they end up in a doctor's office. How did I really come to find this out? It was about 7, 8 years ago. My bunion went south, and yes, my mom had bunions, and everybody says it's genetic. But I always say the person that has the bunion, your ancestors were you are just stressful as your ancestors. So, I had an event in my life that, I don't wish anybody upon, and, my bunion went south, and I'm like, "I'm not having surgery. I am trained to do this type of surgery, but I'm not gonna have it cut on." So, I developed some stretching techniques and some, work on my upper neck and shoulder. Now you can't even tell I have a bunion. And so I've been implementing this into my practice in a lot of patients, and trying to get them active without pain and keep them out of the operating room. Because unless they're really too far gone, I don't think the simple bunion or hammer toe needs surgery all the time. So
Mm. Well, that's good. That's good. And you're right. I mean, I think I saw it in your bio there that yes, everything needs to be in balance. And when anything is out of balance, then something is going to go south. I like your word south and go north, east, west, or whatever. But yeah, so wow. So yes, you can look at the foot and tell it's almost the same thing. I mean, I had this guest on the show one time, and I was telling him that I had um I can never say the word. When you have uh, the when your heel hurt, what's that called again?
plantar fasciitis.
Right, that's right. And he was asking me, which foot is it? If it's your left foot or if it's your right foot. And he's telling me that he can tell from which foot it is what the, because he's saying the same thing, that there's something out of whack someplace else. And he can tell, oh, something about your hips or whatever. But I never reached out to him after our interview. But he was also making the connection about, yeah, if your left foot hurts, then there's something else going on or whatever. But yeah, every now and again I get plantar fasciitis. I don't have it now, but I,
Yeah, to me, on plantar fasciitis, it's directly correlated with the way the shoe bends. And so, just a tidbit to all your listeners out there, if they have plantar fasciitis, pick up
mm,
your shoe and bend it. And
ah,
it needs to bend at the toe, not the middle. If you can force the tip of your toe to the end of your shoe, it's creating too much force on that heel. And inevitably, sometimes I'll see both heels inflamed, but usually it's the right one or the left one. And inevitably, it's always that one that's causing is hurting is the shoe that's been in the middle. So I was like, you need to get good shoes. That's the number one thing I do for that. And yes, the guy that you were mentioning, he has. It'd be curious to know his mindset. I'm glad somebody's out there is also talking about it too. So.
yeah, right, exactly. Like I said, I never reached out to him. Mine is so bad that I've had several cortisol shots in it. But I guess either I'm wearing better shoes or whatever I'm doing. I haven't had the issue in several years, but there's a time when I had them a lot. So, well, that's pretty good. Okay, awesome. So, yes, I'm glad that a foot doctor can help people with, with what's linking to the foot. Because, like I was telling you about this foot book, I mean, you can do reflexology on your foot and massage your organs all over your body. So they're definitely connected to your foot. Amazing. All right. So your book is called Healthy Dad, Sick Dad. What good is your wealth if you don't have your health? What do you want readers to walk away with after reading your book?
Um, if they can, I so want people to start asking questions. I do. If you can ask questions about your health, you're 50, 80% there. The problem is that you go into these doctors' offices or these clinics or that, and you just take their word for it, and you don't ask questions, but participate in life. Ask questions, and the more you ask, the more answers you're gonna get, because I'm just one little piece of the puzzle. I don't know have all the answers. I wish I had all the answers in life, but that's what's great about life is every day I can learn something.
Right.
And so I know that the technique of Jinsen Jitsu, which is Japanese pressure points I can use in my clinic and help somebody so they don't pass out or to help release an ankle. I know that the myopractic that I've incorporated from my healthy dad um, can release an ankle and midfoot so they don't need surgery. I know that certain colors, like these paintings behind me, has a way of helping the chakras. So everything in life, if we just participate, has an answer. And so um, follow your gut, follow your instinct, your intuition, and if it doesn't feel right, it's like, "Nah, I was told to have this surgery or do this." There's answers out there that's gonna direct you on, "Okay, this is where I need to go." Now, if you're need the surgery, just, you have to have that, but, I there's just clinically, there's just too many things out there that I think that my eyes have been opened up to that, makes life more simpler. Common sense to me. It's common sense approach to your health and just participate. Ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Knowledge is yep. Like there's a phrase that they say become the CEO of your health. Right. Don't let people tell you things that you need to do because they're always pushing stuff. I think that when you go to a doctor, it's always a hard sell. They're always telling you that they're always pushing surgery and they're always pushing all these different things. I go to my eye doctor because he says I'm going to get glaucoma and he wants to do surgery. And I says, no. you know? And I know that he's pushing surgery maybe because he gets paid better. I still not. Let's try the drops. Exactly. So yes, ask questions, read books like yours and, educate yourself. And yeah, I agree totally. And again, our conversation is your health is your wealth. So yeah, prioritize your health, prioritize your health. I was reading as somebody sent me an interview with Dr. Atia, who's become, the top doctor now, and he's saying that he's got a waiting list for people to get in his practice, and it's over $100,000. And the first thing I said to myself is, those people that have $100,000, they know that $100,000 is no good to them if they're not healthy, so they're willing to spend it. So your health is your wealth. So yes, for sure. All right. Well, listen. Thank you, Dr. Glenn, for being in the show. And I love the title of your book. Like, right, yes, you're playing on the most famous book there is, Healthy Dad, Sick Dad. Um, but it's very true. It's very true. Because if you don't take care of your health, then you're gonna, one of the famous things that I say that people put off all these different things that they want to do until they're 65 and retire. And when they're 65 and retire, you've got a great visual. You're in that recliner and you can't get out of it, right? So yeah, I mean, do things, throughout your life and don't wait and put it off because tomorrow is not promised. But then even if you want to travel the world and do all these great things at 65, then when you're 40, 45, 50, you've got to be doing certain things in order to protect what you want to do, when you retire. So yeah, so it's a great analogy to look at what you can do to be healthy and what you can do to be sick. So I love the play on words. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, you can't remedy a lifestyle. You just participate, ask questions, and enjoy the ride. So yeah.
Yes. Beautiful. All right. Well, listen, thank you, Dr. Glenn, for being on the show. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode of Author's Corner. Again, the name of Dr. Glenn's book is Healthy Dad, Sick Dad, What Good is Your Wealth If You Don't Have Your Health? Excellent title. Great title. Go pick it up. I'm sure it's available on Amazon. Now, do you have a website, Dr. Glenn, that you want to send people to?
I have yes, Dr. Dr. Glen Glen Robison Robison .com, and that is my website. It tells a lot what I do outside Western medicine, and it also has a art exhibit. I have over 78 paintings of mine that I do, realism art. I have them all in my clinic here. That's the website. And then on Instagram, I have at Healthy Dad Sick Dad, and you can get on there and see what I eat every evening, and my wife always cooks, and we always share what we eat, and so people are always curious about that. So
That's great. I love that. You're a nutritionist too. Yes, I like that. All right, so definitely I will link out to your website, link out to your book, and link out to your Instagram handle as well. Tag you on the collaboration post when I post a clip of our conversation. So yeah, yes, it was great the conversation with you. I love the fact that you were able to share your experiences with not only your healthy dad, sick dad, but also your daughter. So you've got lots of stories. And yeah, bringing attention to the feet, how the feet can be an indicator of things that is going on in your upper body. So that's excellent. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Thank you, Dr. Glenn, for being on the show. Until next time, namaste.